Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel, hope you're doing well. Today we're going to take a look at a bit of a different car for us. We don't normally deal in too many categorised cars that have been written off by an insurance company and then repaired. But I was offered this via our car buying service, carsboughtformore.com, by a nice lad called Haz. We also bought a Golf GTD off of him as well. And this car, when I made him an offer, I thought, well, I want to play, err on the side of caution, because it is a category S car, which means structural damage has taken place and then it's been repaired. And it's hard to know how to price cars that have been categorized. So I tend to think of it as they're being worth about 2/3 of the price of a car that hasn't been in an accident and repaired. So I offered £4,000 for this car, which I thought that was a bit of a safe bet. And if we get it for that money, we can't go too far wrong. And Haz went for it, which was great. And I'm actually really pleased with it. Check out what we bought for £4,000. Now, when I was looking at this car, I knew that it was a category car because I did a vehicle score ultimate report. If you're going to be looking to buy a car and you want to check that it hasn't got hidden history, or check that the car that you've already bought hasn't got hidden history, I highly recommend vehiclescore.co.uk. Not only can you do their free score, which we'll do now to find out how this car scores from 1 to 999, but they also do their HPI checks as well, which is what I did to give me more information about the damage that this car had. So I am going to do the vehicle score check first. This is their free service. We'll put in our reg, Mike Victor 13 Hotel Foxtrot Golf, and see what our score says. 780 out of 999. Good. So let's have a look at our score insights. Recent MOT pass rate is high, average yearly mileage is perfect, bad bits, the vehicle is over 10 years old. Well, we're not going to worry too much about that. We knew it was over 10 years old. Yes, in regards to looking at it against a 2019 year old car, it's not going to be as good as it, it's not as new, but we knew that. So nothing too drastic on that front. If we scroll down on our free check, we can go to the MOT history. It will tell us that it passed on the 16th of March, 2023. It had 2 advisories for both front wheel bearings having slight play. I think they've probably been either adjusted up or replaced, because I haven't noticed any issues with driving it. But we can go back through, check the entire MOT history, and we can also check the mileage with this free check as well. So I can see that the mileage has consistently gone up or stayed level at the very worst, but has never dipped down, giving you the indication that this car might have been clocked. Of course, I wanted to know a bit more about the history of this car. Haz had told me that it was a category car. So I did the ultimate report, which is normally £8.97, but I used my own discount code, which you can use too, Shifting Metal 15, and I got 15% off, which made the check £7.62 and gave me a lot more information. In fact, it told me that this car was a category S and it had been written off in 2021, and the damage was just minor front end scuffs and scrapes is how it's categorized. There isn't any auction salvage photos, unfortunately, which means that the person that crashed this car may well have bought it back and had it repaired themselves rather than it going to an auction. If it has gone to an auction, 9 times out of 10 you can get the pictures from the auction which show you exactly what the damage was. But it now narrows it down for me that I know that the front end of this car is where the damage took place, and that's where we ought to look to see if there's any obvious telltale signs of whether it's been repaired properly or not. So as always, thank you very much to Vehicle Score for sponsoring this video and providing us with a discount code ShiftingMetal15, because it could have saved me a lot of money here, having bought this for £4,000 when a retail for a straight car is near enough £9,000. So I wouldn't necessarily say that a category car is something you absolutely have to rule out buying. I think they offer great value in the right circumstances, but A, you need to know that it has been categorized, and B, you need to know how that affects the value. So definitely do your checks before you buy a car. So we'll have a quick look around the car. I'm not going to go around and pick this apart like we do with our really cheap cars. Mainly we want to have a look at just like the obvious things. The front end is obviously where it's had a crash before. You could just about tell maybe that the front bumper looks a slightly different shade of white. I don't know, it could just be the angle. Whoever has repaired this car has done it really well. So again, just goes to show why it's important to do your checks, because you wouldn't necessarily, this wouldn't jump out at you that it's being damaged. Some things might not line up quite perfectly, but on the whole, it looks really good. And this looks absolutely amazing value for £4,000. On top of that, despite the wheels wanting to have a refurb really, because the diamond cut faces have got water under the lacquer and they've peeled off. It's Michelin Pilot Sport 4 tyres all the way around in really good condition. Shows someone's actually spent some money in this car. It's really clean inside and out. This is exactly how the car came to us yesterday after Josh picked it up on the trailer. I didn't want to clean it up or tart it up, make you think that I was hiding the fact of any damage or how this car might look. This is exactly how it came, exactly how we picked it up. I'll be honest, I think if I was to look at this at first glance, I wouldn't know that this car had been written off in the past. I'm a big fan of the W204 model, especially the coupe. I just think they're still a really attractive looking car. They look really sporty, they look kind of luxury, they still look, you know, really modern, up to date, especially a facelift model with the new interior that comes with Bluetooth music, all that sort of stuff, that of a car of the same sort of era, 2013, you wouldn't get Bluetooth music in a BMW. Now, it might sound quite minor, but for me, that's quite important. I want to be listening to my own music, things like that. And I think it just, you know, just shows that they're a bit ahead of the time in that regard. They got really nice interiors. This is, I think, around about the time, I would say, where Mercedes went from having pretty drab grandad interiors to actually going quite sporty and trying to go F1 inspired, etc. So it is really nice in there, and you've got your flappy paddles, things like that. It's just a really nice place to be. And in fact, I drove one of these daily for about 9 months at one point, and it's probably one of the best cars I had. It's just reliable, really, really good, really comfortable to drive, easy to drive. Just, yeah, just a great car. I really like the W204. They're really nice and plush inside. Everything's quite a nice finish. Yes, the dashboard's plastic, but it's quite a nice soft touch plastic. They've got a decent boot. There's absolutely tons of space in there. You can pull your little levers. The seats will fold down, so if you needed to get something a bit bigger in there, you could. On top of that, this being the 2.1 diesel, they're super economic, they're super easy to drive, they're not slow. All right, the 4-cylinder diesels in a Mercedes tend to sound a bit agricultural, but for what you get in terms of MPG and performance, I think it's actually a really good unit, and probably the best one to have, second to the 3-litre diesel, which probably would be my preference. Rather than getting too bogged down on all the details of the inside of the car, we may as well pop the bonnet and see if there's any obvious signs of where this accident happened and whether we think it's been repaired well or not. Looking at our sort of front rails, everything looks all right. I can't see that anything's been welded or bent. Strut towers, both look good. No dents or bends in those. All the brackets and everything in the front here all look in good condition. They're not bent, kind of crushed or welded up together. So I'm hoping that our crash was just a bit of a front bumper type job. Maybe the headlights. I mean, this was done 2 years ago, the accident happened. These headlights could be 2 years old, but I wouldn't be surprised if they were older. So I don't even think necessarily that our headlights have been replaced. If they have, they've replaced them with genuine Mercedes OEM rather than going for some cheap aftermarket ones. So there's nothing as far as I can tell. All right, I'm not a mechanic and I'm not a body shop technician. I'm not a crash investigator. There'd be nothing here that would tell me that this car has had a category S, a structural category against it, and it has been repaired. I'm not an expert, like I say, but I do sell 20 to 30 cars every month. I'm around cars day in, day out. You get an idea for these sorts of things, so if I can't spot it, there's a good chance that you wouldn't. Again, just highlight, it's always worth doing your checks. Don't get caught out. Our oil looks good. Quite nice and black, standard diesel oil. Coolant might be a bit hot. No, that's okay. Yeah, that all looks good. I can see in there that's nice and clean. Yeah, I'm happy with everything so far. I think maybe driving it will tell us more, so let's head out on the road. Right, well, thank God our air conditioning is icy cold because it is roasting out there today. In fact, I wonder if I can figure out on the displays here if it'll tell me what the temperature is outside. Probably not. 30 degrees Celsius outside today. Me and Toby are sweating our butts off. But for once, this car's not quite so cheap and horrendous that the air conditioning doesn't work, thank God. Seeing as this car's had a knock on the front, probably the most obvious thing that's going to give it away is, does it drive straight and true? Is there any wobbling going on? Knocks, bumps, does it just handle weirdly? You know, tracking could be off or anything like that. I'm going to be honest, I got a pretty good feeling that this car's being repaired well by whoever did it, but still well worth checking out. Probably some extra checks we usually like to do if we are ever going to do a categorized car, because you're not just checking the manufacturer's work anymore, you're also checking whoever's done the repairs, so you want to make sure that it definitely is all up to scratch. I quite like the gearbox in these Mercedes as well, which is a bit strange really, because they are quite a lazy gearbox, especially when it comes to using the flappy paddles. Everything's a bit like 2 days later, you pull your flappy paddle and all of a sudden it changes, and I think once you've got used to them, you've got used to them, and you know, they grow on you for sure, and they're actually quite easy to drive. They're nice and smooth. Even if they are a bit lazy, they're smooth. They're not jolting between gears, and they're not too snatchy or anything like that. It's very comfortable to use. So far, no signs of issues with tracking whatsoever. Steering feels good. It's not heavy. That's another thing that might give it away, is if it feels particularly heavy, especially if it's heavier in one direction than it is going the other. You could still have some bent steering components and things under there. But this feels absolutely bomb on. This feels like every other sorted W204 that I've ever driven before. As I say, if we put our foot down, it sounds like a 4-cylinder, but it does build up. And it's certainly not slow, but it's not the fastest or greatest sounding thing in the world, but they do also handle really well. I think, having been a BMW man most of my life, having got into Mercedes, the way I see it, BMW's the sporty drive, Audi is the comfort drive, and Mercedes somehow manages to sit somewhere in the middle. You've still got some comfort, you've got quality, and it does have sporty handling. It's nowhere near being some kind of M Sport BMW, but I think for me, Mercedes is my new favourite spot in the middle there, between those German marques. The standard sound system in these is very premium as well. Plenty of bass, very kind of rich surround sound, really good for a standard stereo. And as I say, it comes with Bluetooth audio right out the box, no matter what model, from the 2013 facelift onwards, which is a really good system as well. Gives you all of your controls on your multimedia display as well. So for what is 10 years old at this point, I think it still feels quite modern. I forgot to say up to this point, but the mileage on this car is 86,280, which is why this car would be 8,700, I think, according to the Auto Trader retail price. So I think realistically we could probably get 6,000 for this, maybe a little bit more, I don't know, but if I was to say 6,500, we'll get the alloy wheels done, new MOT on it, because it's only got MOT till March, we said, hasn't it? And maybe a new service on it. I think 6,500 is amazing value for this. 2,200 cheaper than buying a straight car. It's worth a try, but I'd be interested to hear in the comments what you think. Would you buy a categorized car that you think is being repaired well to give yourself better value, or does the category just scare you off completely? I guess it's going to be a mixed bag, but I'd be interested to hear. So there we have it. I think that is an absolute bargain buy. It's the sort of car I actually get really excited about because I think it's such great value. And yeah, we'll get the guys to give it a good valet. We'll get the alloy wheels booked in for a refurbish, and we'll book the service. And I think we can stick this on the forecourt here for about 6.5, and I don't think it's going to hang around for too long. Funnily enough, we got a red one over there that's also up for just under £9,000. A straight one, it's red and whatever, and I think this categorised car that is cheaper, therefore better value, is going to go out faster. I'll put something up on Instagram to say which car sells first, so make sure you follow me on Instagram. If you enjoyed the video, please do give it a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe. Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, we're on all of them. Make sure you follow us, and we'll see you in the next video.